It's always been strange to me that one person can walk out an event calling it a huge success, while another calls the exact same event a failure. Same event, same room, same experience, two completely different opinions. And somehow that debate feels normal in our industry. It reminds me of when parents talk about raising multiple kids and one said, I had an amazing childhood. And the other one said, well, mine was terrible. I don't remember it like that. And then you're left thinking, were we even raised in the same house? So it makes me think of a bigger question. Why is the success of an event even up for debate? Yeah, we all have a right to our own opinion, but very respectfully, when it comes to measuring outcomes, it should be based on solid numbers and metrics, not someone's opinion. So if you're an event professional, you already know the answer. Because as the planner, you usually feel it during the event. Your eyes are on the client or leadership. They happen to lock eyes. You read into every expression on their face, trying to gauge where they're at. Stress is super high. You can tell when leadership or the client is unhappy. The DJ is too loud. The keynote is running 18 minutes too long. The bartender is doing something questionable. And while everyone else is off enjoying themselves, you're watching that one person like a hawk. You already know what's going to come up in the post-event meeting. You're bracing for it. The vendor who showed up late, the staff member not in uniform, the tiny little detail that suddenly becomes the headline on Monday morning. And here is the honest to God truth. Most planners don't say this out loud, and they don't defend themselves. None of those things actually determine whether an event was successful, but they become the measuring stick anyway. So let me tell you a story. I planned a corporate holiday party at the Oxford Hotel a while back. It was a beautiful event. We took over 2 complete floors. We hired out valet and moved them to the other side of a private side of the building. It was a 4-hour program. Every detail was thought through, embellished in red and gold glitz and glam, custom cocktails, live music, after-dinner entertainment, pinball machines, and arcade games for the non-dancers, a 16-foot Christmas tree with custom branded ornaments that actually went into the gift bags in the end. It was gorgeous, truly gorgeous. This was the client's first ever holiday party, so their emotions were high. They wanted everything to go perfectly. I was on call in the other room all night. I feel like I checked in with them every 4 minutes, making sure nothing slipped through the cracks. At one point, I stepped away for a quick bathroom break, and during that short window, a bartender put out his own tip jar and started telling guests that if they really liked their drinks and wanted another one, they should tip him. This was a hotel employee. It was their in-house staff, not someone I had hired or trained personally. When my client noticed it, it escalated fast. By the time I got back into the room, the situation was already at a level 10. They were frantic, upset, embarrassed. So I calmly went over, I took the tip jar down, and I said, we're not doing gratuity tonight, or we are doing gratuity tonight, we're not doing tips. No drama, no confrontation. The bartender was fine. He was new, he didn't know better. Problem solved, or so I thought, until Monday morning. My client wants a refund from the hotel. They were livid. Their first annual holiday party was, in their words, a complete flop. And it all came down to one moment with a bartender. That moment became the spark for everything else. Suddenly, it was, well, my assistant thought the sweet potatoes tasted a little burnt. Jake from HR said that it took 20 minutes for valet to find his car. One small issue opened the door for every minor complaint to just keep piling on. What had been a beautiful, thoughtfully designed event turned into a highlight reel of grievances. And this is how it happens. One tiny misstep becomes the permission slip for gossip, and before you know it, the steamroller of a great event is flattened into what people now remember as a failure. So here's the part that I want you to take away from this. That event did not fail because of a bartender. It failed because expectations were never set. When you don't define success at the very beginning, clients will define it for themselves, and they will define it emotionally, not strategically. If you allow success to be based on perfection, events will always fail. Something will always go wrong. Events involve humans, personalities, and hundreds of moving parts. The problem was not in the event details or the execution. The problem was that there was no agreed upon definition of success, and that was on me. So here's what I should have done from day one. Before venues, vendors, decor, timelines, any of that, I should have asked just one question. What does a successful event look like to you? And then I'd go deeper. What is the purpose of this event? What are we trying to achieve? What result would make this worth the investment? From there, you establish goals tied to that purpose. And then you can define the key performance indicators, ways to measure whether the event actually did what it was meant to do. All of this happens before a single detail is planned. And when you do this, two things change. First of all, you show up as a strategist, not just a planner. You're not an order taker. You are now leading. Second, you create a clear path to defend success. So when Monday morning rolls around, you're not reacting back emotionally. You're pointing to the strategy and saying, these are the 6 ways we were successful, and here are 2 things we can improve on next year. The purpose was to celebrate employees and strengthen client relationships. The goals were actually met. The outcomes were achieved. A disgruntled bartender, a slow valet for one person, and one dish not up to par does not negate all of the positive results and measured success. Here's the real choice that every event professional has to make. You can go on planning events that feel successful but are judged on the details, or you can decide that your work deserves to be strategic. Because when you start with purpose instead of logistics, everything becomes clearer. What to measure, what to prioritize, what actually matters. And then you can communicate it clearly. I've been on both sides of this, and I promise you, the shift is so much simpler than it feels. I teach this very simple process because our jobs are already stressful enough. We don't need things out of our control dictating the success of our events and the integrity of our jobs. When you plan events with clear purpose, defined goals, and measurable outcomes, you're not just protecting yourself, you're defending the value of our entire profession. And that's where everything changes for you, your career path, and our industry as a whole. New standards and ways to communicate them, that's all in the competitive edge. And so if this resonated with you at all, I have a couple of resources for you. One is the Tuesday Edge. It's my newsletter. It comes out every Tuesday. Sign up for it below. And I've also created a free guide that lays out the process of defining the purpose in the initial meeting and establishes goals and success measures so you never have to prove yourself again. I'll link both of these below for you. And moving forward, cheers to planning strategic events and making them successful.